In the past 2 years, I worked with over 50 e-commerce brands, making them millions of dollars in sales. One of the worst and most expensive mistakes is ignoring their deliverability. That's because if nobody can see your emails, then it won't matter if you have the best strategy in the world. And in this video, I'm gonna show you how to get out of the spam folder and land in the primary tab. This is also the exact same strategy that I used to generate over $50 million in sales just last year. So let's get right into it. It's going to be divided into 5 steps to make sure that all of the content that you see in this video is actionable and you can implement it very, very easily. So let's start with step number 1, which is defining your deliverability. It may seem cliche or self-explanatory or super simple, but that's the truth. A lot of brands I spoke to, they didn't even know what's their deliverability. They may have known the open rate and whatnot, but high open rate doesn't always mean that your deliverability is great. There are always things that can be improved, so defining it is step number 1. To define your deliverability, of course, you need to analyze your data from Klaviyo and Google Postmaster tools to see the open rate, spam rate, unsubscribe rate, bounce rate, but also click rates. And then what we like to do is use a third-party external tools to determine what's the inbox placement. By inbox placement, I mean, or maybe differently, what these tools do is they help you define the inbox placement. So essentially you're sending an email and then you're sending it to a custom list of people, which those tools give you. And then these tools are showing you where the email landed. This is a great way to do it because both of these tools, which is Gmass and GlockUps, have differently engaged inboxes, which means that, for example, Gmass has a 10-year-old Gmail user, which is a very old inbox, and chances of your emails landing in the primary tab over there are way smaller than, for example, for a new inbox which has been established like a month ago. Same goes for the Google Workspace inboxes and so on and so on. That's why using these tools is so powerful, because you can get an actual insights into what's your deliverability. This is the step number 1. After you do it, you need to fix your technical setup. You can do it by setting up your branded or custom sending domain. If you don't know how to do it, I have a separate video on that, which takes you like probably less than 10 minutes, and it's something you have to do just once, so make sure you do it. Then you need to check if all of your DNS records are in place. By DNS records, I mean SPF, DKYM, and DMARC. You need to have all of them. It's pretty much non-negotiable. You need to have it, especially after last year's Yahoo and Gmail updates. If you don't have them, you're going to spam. And then what you want to do for the last step in the technical setup is removing your domain from important blacklists. I highlighted important as a very important word, mainly because there are blacklists where, you know, pretty much any e-commerce brand's domain is on, but they don't matter. Like, these blacklists are pretty much listing anyone that they can, but it doesn't impact your deliverability. That's why I'm saying that you need to remove your domain only from important blacklists. And quite often these blacklists work in a way that if they don't get a spam complaint for a specific amount of time, they're gonna automatically remove you. After you have all of this done, you need to adjust your flows. What I mean by that is you need to turn off any low buying intent flows. Low buying intent flows, for example, sunset flow or a win-back flow, where people haven't really engaged with you for a while and you're sending them emails, right? Another example of low buying intent but pre-purchase flow would be site abandonment flow, which is being triggered upon anyone visiting homepage but not viewing any product. This is still, you know, pre-purchase flow, but very low intent because people didn't even reach the product page, so you're not relevant to them and chances of them opening the email from you are quite low. Then what you want to do as well with adjusting your flows is making sure that you have only 1 or maximum 2 emails in each flow. Even if it's the welcome flow, even if it's the abandoned cart or checkout flows or post purchase, you want to have maximum of 2 emails in these flows only for the period of warming up the domain. That's because if you have more emails, usually further down the line, the lower your open rate, the higher unsubscribe rates, and so on and so on. That's why you want to make sure that at least for now, you're gonna have maximum 2 emails in each flow. And remember, this is temporary. You won't have this set up forever, so it's only temporary. Make sure that you turn off all the other emails. If, for example, you have your welcome flow with 5 emails, turn on 3 lowest performing ones and leave 2 top performers, and then pretty much let it run. A small tip from my side would be that if you have 1 or 2 emails and your open rates are still very low, I would turn these emails into plain text ones, unless they are already plain text, which is very rarely the case that I see a brand having plain text email in the flow. Make sure you turn them into plain text emails just because they have better deliverability and higher chances of landing in the primary tab. Another step number 4, will be removing dead profiles. This is a very simple exclusion list that you can pause the video and create in your Klaviyo account. You can even call it the same way. And we are pretty much gonna be having people who are opted in, so they are considered an active profile by Klaviyo, but they shouldn't be getting any emails from you at all because, for example, their email bounced, or they marked you as spam, or the email dropped. So once you have this list, you're gonna go to Klaviyo, and then you're gonna also delete everyone who's in this list. There's no reason why you should be keeping them. You won't be targeting those people anyways, because pretty much you can't reach their inbox. So the only thing this list or those people in the list are gonna do is making your Klaviyo bill higher, which also doesn't make sense because you're gonna be paying more for profiles that you're never going to use. So create this exact segment and delete those profiles. Now, step number 5, which is gonna be the last one, is warming up your new domain. This is really what pretty much everything deliverability related comes into, which is having technicals in place, right? Setup number 2, making sure your flows don't increase your unsubscribe rate on spam rates. Hence, we wanna have only high intent flows with small amount of emails. And then you need to warm up your new domain after you have set it up. Because once you set it up, you're pretty much like a blank sheet. You don't have any reputation. It's like a new start. You're starting from scratch, and you want to be very careful about how you move forward with this. Because if you do it too aggressively, you're gonna regret it because you're gonna get terrible deliverability, very high chances of landing in spam, and that's not something that you want to have. So you need to also remember that this is a long-term play. You don't want to be targeting your entire list in the first month, because if you do so, then once again, you're increasing your chances of landing in the primary tab, and you don't really want to do this, okay? So the way you warm up your domain is you need to create your engaged segments. There are 2 types of engaged segments where you can come across online. They're gonna be either email engaged segments or store engaged segments. In this case, we are warming up the email domain, so I'm talking strictly about email engaged segments. That's what you're going after. People pretty much who open emails from you and click them. That's exactly who you want to target. And we're also taking Apple iOS 15 update into consideration. So we're getting rid of false opens. False opens is essentially Apple is downloading the email to their server, and before they show it to you, they're quote unquote opening it and scanning for any scan links and whatnot. And this is when the email gets tagged as opened, even though the user, didn't click it at all. But it's just Apple marking it as opened because they're scanning for the harmful content, okay? That's why you need to exclude it. It also probably affects your attribution if you have it, if you are not excluding it, but that's just an FYI. So create those segments. I would start with Open 15, to be honest. Open 7 is usually used when your deliverability has been awful, like really terrible. You've been landing in spam for years. Other than that, start with the Open 15 segment, then Open 30. And by the way, the numbers in those segments stand for the days of engagement. So if it's in the Open 15 segment, then it means that someone opened an email in the last 15 days. If it's gonna be Open 30 segment, then it will be a segment made of people who opened email at least once in the last 30 days, and so on and so on. So create those segments. You can go as far as like opened 180 days segment, to be honest, because you're gonna use those segments later on, not right away, but later on you're gonna use them. And then what you want to do is start sending campaigns to the most engaged segments and keep expanding over time. What it means is that they're going to start with Open 15 segment. If your deliverability or open rates are looking good, you're going to expand into Open 30 segment. If your open rates and deliverability are good, after reaching the Open 30 segment, you're going to reach segment opened 45 or 60, and you go on and keep expanding until you hit a segment of people who opened an email in the last 180 or maybe even 365 days if you want to go very broad, which I also recommend, by the way. That's how you warm up your domain. And here's one pro tip from me. If you want to ensure maximum deliverability, which is the best inbox placement, your first campaigns should be plain text only. So not only they're going to be sent to very engaged segments, but they're also going to be plain text, because then you're pretty much making sure that the emails that you send out are going to land in the primary tab, which is super important. So that's pretty much this for this video. If you want to stay updated with the current trends and strategies and learn from me and my team of 8-figure email marketers, make sure you join my email list. It's completely free. And after you sign up, you're gonna get 102-page guides worth of all the knowledge I have about email marketing for e-commerce brands. And once you're signed up, make sure to check my other video, which is gonna show you how we made our client over $1.5 million in just 6 months.